Okay, I'm gonna cry. This is my third time recording this, and I have such a killer headache. And the second time around, when I thought everything was good, my phone ended up dying. And you know what? That wasn't even the worst of it. I hadn't even recorded the audio. I'm gonna cry. Anyways, let's get started. Boom, boom, boom. Corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. Four types of angles, and we really want to remember how exactly we need to identify each one. Okay, it's in the name. Just think about it. Alternate interior. That means like opposite, right? So opposite sides, and then interior means inside. And then you have alternate exterior. That's like opposite. And then this is also exterior, so that means outside. And then these other ones I'll explain as we go along. Here's number one. I'm going to highlight the two angles. Okay, when I say opposite sides, think about this line right here, right? That's the transversal. Left and right of that transversal would mean opposite. And then when I say inside or interior, think about this as being the inside, and think of this as being the outside, right? So in between the lines is interior. So in this case, think about it. This is alternate sides, so alternate. And we know that this is interior, right? Inside the lines. So this is alternate interior angles. That's how I would think about it. Okay. Number two, I'm going to do the same thing. Look at the two angles. Look at their positioning. You see that these are on the exterior of the lines, right? And you also notice that on this transversal, they're on alternate sides. So again, alternate sides. Okay, and then it's going to be exterior this time because they're not located on the interior. So alternate interior or exterior. Okay. We have two angles for number three. Think about their positioning. They're in similar positioning. In other words, they correspond to the same position. So boom, boom. They're both located on the top of this little L shape. And so we would say these angles correspond to each other. Corresponding angles. And again, this could be the same thing if the angles were like this, right? Those would be corresponding. These would be corresponding. These would be corresponding, right? Last one, this is the wild card. I'm going to draw these little lines. Here's the thing about this one. This is the guy that we have to treat a little bit differently. This is called, well, first off, consecutive, because consecutive means you located them on the same side, right? It creates this little bracket shape. And then this is going to be interior. And that should be kind of self-explanatory. This is on the inside after all. So consecutive interior angle. Again, consecutive just means it's not alternate, right? It's on the same side, in this case, the left side, and interior is just interior. Zooming out, these are the four types of angles that we've gone over. The reason why I highlighted this a little bit differently is because this is the only one where these angles are not the same. So in every other example, if this angle was 100, then so is this one. In this one, alternate exterior, same thing. If this angle is 100, turns out so is this one. We look at this one, same thing. If this angle's, I don't know, like 70, well, this one's also 70. But in this one, these two angles actually need to add up to 180. So if this is 100, then this bottom one's not 100. That would be 80. So there's my little example for what those mean. Let's go ahead and do number 5. We want to solve for x. And so always read the question. If it just says solve for x, then it'll be a pretty simple problem. You have two angles. Boom, boom. This is alternate exterior, right? Alternate sides, and then they're located on the outside of the lines. And then we know that alternate exterior angles, I'm just going to jump to my notes real quick. Alternate exterior angles are congruent to each other. So remember, in these three examples, they need to be set equal to each other. The special one at the very end, this is the one that you set equal to 180. That's not the one we're dealing with right now. So because they're congruent, we want to set them equal to each other. So let's set 12x minus 6 equals 66. Okay, we're just setting them equal. And then solve it. We're going to end up with 12x equals 72. Divide both sides by 12. 12. Again, we're just doing simple algebra. That should give you x equals 6 as your answer. Okay. So there you go. Pretty simple. If we look at number 6, these two angles, okay, are corresponding angles. Because again, they correspond to the same position. They're in the same exact location as each other, right? And so let's get started on this one. Corresponding angles, again, according to our handy little table, corresponding is going to be congruent to each other. So we just want to write these two functions equal to each other. And then hopefully from here, it's just going to be simple algebra. It doesn't matter how you simplify it. I'm just going to do it this way. Cancel out your equation. You're going to get 4 equals negative 2 plus x. 22 minus 21 is just 1. So we don't need to write the 1. And then finally, get x by itself. You're going to get 6 equals x. Nothing more that we really need to do. The question just asked us to solve for x. So there you go. Let's look at page 2. So find a measure of the angle indicated in bold. Okay. Again, same thing, except one extra step. Because we want to find the angle measured in bold, usually I circle these, so I'm just going to circle it to show which one we need to plug it into. We want to find out what is the numerical value there at the very end of this all. So again, we know that this one is alternate sides, and these are interior angles. So this is alternate interior. This is another case of where we have to set it equal to each other. So 31x minus 3 equals 30x. Be careful this time. This one has an x variable, so these two are like terms. So if we want to cancel, we have to maybe do this. We don't combine it with the 3. So if you cancel that, you get negative 3 equals negative 1x. Again, you don't really need to write this guy, but I mean, you do need to write the negative 1, or negative, I mean. But if you're going to cancel, there you go. That goes away. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is going, or negative 1 is going to be 3. Now, this is not our answer, because this time they didn't ask us to find x. They want us to actually plug it back in to find the angle that's bolded. So if we were to do that, okay, I'm going to convert that to a p. That's ugly. Plug back in. So the equation is 30. If we plug in x, which is 3, well, we're just going to end up with 90 degrees. And if you have some spare time, if you were to plug it in, I mean, we know that this angle should be 90. If you were to plug in x into the other angle as well, you have my word that this will be 90 and this will be 90 as well. That's how you know you got the right answer, because both of them should be congruent to each other. Last one of this type of problem. We want to have these two angles. Now, be very careful. Think about what kind of angle this is. This is on the same side, not the alternate side. So this is consecutive, and they're on the inside. So consecutive interior. Now, here's the thing. Consecutive interior angles do not do this. You don't set it equal to each other, okay? These two angles actually need to add up to 180. So this angle, the first one, okay, needs to add up to 180. So 8x minus 10, let's set that guy equal to 180. Okay, this is key. If you don't do this, you're going to get some weird answer. Sometimes it might look like it works out, but it doesn't. So this guy and this guy, these two are like terms, right? So let's do that. this guy, and then this guy. 10x and 8x, they just combine into 18x. And if you think about it, these two just cancel out, right? Positive 10 and negative 10 are opposites of each other, so those guys are gone. So it's just equal to 180. And then from here, if you just divide by 18, well, then you're just going to end up with x equals 10. And that is not your answer. Don't forget, you're plugging it back in to find whatever that angle is. And for this one, be very careful. You can't just pick any equation to plug it into. You will get a different answer if you plug it into the bottom equation because they will be different. If you plug it in, let's do that. Plug back in. You're going to end up with 10 times that number that we just found, 10. That's going to be equal to 100 plus 10, which is just 110 degrees. And so this angle up here, right, should be 110, which means if you plug it back in, plug in the x to the bottom one, you should get 70. Okay, try that out to check your answer, and trust me, you'll get 70 on the bottom. Okay, but as for this question answer, it'll be 110. Okay, the last 4 types of questions is parallel and perpendicular. Remember to read these words carefully. Okay, they'll change, it'll make or break your questions. Perp means perpendicular, right? So you have to find the opposite reciprocal, whereas parallel means the same. So let's do the first one. We need 3 bits of information. We know that we're trying to look for a line that passes through these points, so x1, y1, let's call it that. And then parallel means same slope, so we can just use m, which stands for slope, as this guy right here. Okay, so let's have our point slope form, which we're probably used to by now. If we plug it in, this is going to be -3, -3, again, x1, or y1 and then x1, right? And then we want to plug in 5 over 3, because that's the slope that we have, right? And then from here, let's simplify our double negatives. That's going to be y, I'm writing really messy today, y plus 3 equals 5 over 3 times x plus 3. Let's keep going. This guy needs to distribute. When you distribute these two, those just become squished together. Nothing too crazy. That's just 5 over 3x. Now, when you multiply 5 over 3 times 3, okay, we really should be getting pretty good at this. 5 over 3 times 3, you could think of it this way. That's 15 over 3, because that's 15, which is just 5. So you can just change that to 5, right? Or you could think of it like 5 over 3 times 3. Well, 3's cancel out, leaving you with just 5. That's my preferred method if you can cancel out, so that's plus 5. Either way, please, please, please know how to multiply fractions. I know for some of you it's really easy. Others of you still need a little bit of practice with it. If you cancel this, you're going to get y equals 5 over 3x plus 2. And that's your answer. Okay. Okay, and then let's move on. We have number 10. Here's your first point. Here's your second point. We want to find the same slope, right, as this guy. So that's just 2. Oops. Yeah, let's just highlight that guy, 2. And so a couple things here. We already have all the things that we need, all the main ingredients to plug into our equation, which is this. So x minus, let's do 5, and then this is 2, right? Just make sure you're plugging in the numbers correctly. 2 goes in here. Distribute, distribute. You're going to end up with 2 times x minus 4 on the right side. And then add 5 to both sides. you're going to end up with y equals 2x plus 1, and then this will be your answer. And in case it's not clear what we're trying to find, what we're basically doing is we have these two equations, right? The original equation is this guy, okay? Let's call that 2x minus 1. Well, if we get our second equation, let's call that 2x plus 1. Well, these two lines are going to be parallel to each other, and it's going to cross through the point 2 comma 5. I don't know if that's actually 2 comma 5, but let's pretend that it is. And that's essentially what we're trying to find. We're trying to find a line that's parallel to the other line that we started with and passes through this point 2 comma 5. So try to understand the concept. Moving on to the last two. This is perpendicular. This is opposite reciprocal. You might recall that term. So x1, y1. This is not going to be our slope, so be very careful. We want to find the opposite reciprocal. So we're not just going to use negative 5 over 2. This guy needs to change. This guy needs to become, again, if you flip this and then make it positive, that's going to be our positive reciprocal. That's going to be 2 over 5. And so this is our m value that we're going to use. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, I'm going to write the skeleton of what I'm going to be plugging in. That's going to be just 4 here, 5 here, and then again, you're not using the original slope. You're using this guy. Okay? So 2 over 5 is what we're going to be using. Distribute, distribute. These guys just clump together. That's going to be 2 over 5 times x. And again, you should be getting pretty good at doing this with mental math, but if not, here's the side work. So negative 2 goes here after you distribute. Okay. So minus 2. Y minus 4 just drops down. If you add 4 to both sides, well, as luck would have it, the answer will be pretty simple. Y equals 2/5 x plus 2. And there you go. Now this answer is interesting because essentially what we found is, let's call this the original line. Well, now you found a new line, okay? I have it backwards. Now you found a new line, this guy right here, which is going to be perpendicular to the original line, which is this guy. Sorry, that's a little confusing. But anyways, we're not looking for parallel lines is my main point. We're looking for a line that is perpendicular and passes through 5 comma 4. Last one. My head is killing me. Let's get this done. Hopefully this audio recording does not crash on me. We have x1, y1, perpendicular. That's opposite reciprocal. Again, parallel is the same. So opposite reciprocal of this, well, that's 4 over 1. So if you flip that and you make it negative, well, that's going to give you m equals negative 1 over 4. That's our new slope, okay? Not 4 over 1. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus, let's plug things in. Don't forget your double negatives if there ever are. In this case, I guess we won't. This is going to be negative 1 over 4. Okay, if we distribute, you're going to end up with negative 1 over 4x. And then final one is going to give you, again, let's do this on the side. That's negative 1 over 4 times negative 4. Well, think about it. That's just going to be, if you multiply the top two, that's positive 4 over 4. Negative 1 times negative 4, right, is going to give you positive 4. That's going to give you 1. So it's just plus 1. So plus 1, y minus 4 drops down. Add 4 to both sides. Yeah, you're going to end up with y equals negative 1 over 4 x plus 5 is your answer. And there you go. Zooming out, this line is going to be perpendicular. It's going to form a line like this, and it's most definitely going to pass through this point 4, 4. That's about it.